My name is Will Wiesenfeld, and I'm Baths, and I'm here in Luxembourg, and very excited.
I wanted to start with a quotation
Okay.
I read on rateyourmusic.com. I always start like this because it's funny. And there was someone reviewing your record, and he said, "It's good music for shopping at IKEA."
That's awesome. I take that as both like flattery, I guess, and like, because like I love IKEA. That's weird. I don't know.
It's not all. It really makes the experience of shopping at IKEA, I think, less mundane and more of an adventure. Everything takes on this kind of dreamy quality, which is enhanced by the fact that you're essentially walking through a series of rooms that have no relation to each other.
That's perfect. I guess it's a bit like my music. It's like weird. That's very good. Of all the quotes to find, that's very, very good. Yes.
Good.
That's awesome.
So, I think you got his idea.
Yeah.
I got it too. That every song on your album is a song which could work all by itself, all alone.
Yes, that was actually the goal going into it, was to make things that were disparate enough, but have sort of an umbrella theme to them, that they're very positive and stuff. But they do take up sonically, I think, different things. My favorite albums are the ones where the music takes up enough different space and does enough musically that it keeps you interested. I don't like hearing the same song through a whole album, but I like a mix, like right in between those 2 points, sort of, where it's like similar in some ways, but very different from song to song in others. So, I don't know. I'm trying to, like, for me, one of the first albums that comes to mind is Homogenic, the Bjork album, where every song is very, very different, but are very obviously from the same album. So,
All right. Tell me, you once said in an interview that your musical process of doing music was, in an interview you said every song began without any premeditation.
Yeah.
Is it? Can you explain that?
For the Baths music for this first album, yes. Just to make it more specific, that I went into cerulean that way. So it was like most of the music that I've written in the past, I've like had a lot of big ideas before I ever even start recording, and I like have all these things and goals in mind, and I try and reach them when I record music. That's sort of just the way I normally do it. But with Baths, one of the big efforts of it was to like not do that, was to sort of let go and just, when I start recording, just sit down and be like, it's time to make a song, and then do whatever happens, whatever comes. So
Okay.
that's the difference, I guess.
And do you intend to work like this in the future with this project?
No, actually, which is funny. Like, I've already built up so many different ideas that I'm really excited about for the next album that it's going to be impossible to do that, at least for a little while. With Geotic, though, when I record that music, it's often very much like that, though, like the Bath stuff, where I go into it without any premeditation. I just start recording. So, yeah.
When we interviewed Tori Moi,
Yeah.
he had the same approach in doing music.
Okay.
I don't know if you're do you know him? Or
I don't know him personally, but I love his music very much. So, yeah.
What is interesting, he's got the same approach of non-premeditation, but the result, in some ways, I don't want to insult you that the music is different, but sometimes you get labeled also as being chill.
Yes.
So
That has happened a lot. It's fun.
So what do you say in your
Well, my opinion on that is that I think the timing of this coming out, and I think there's probably elements that I've heard upon listening to chill wavy things, if that's like still the word and everything, because I like Toro y Moi, and I like Washed Out very much. I think they make very, very entertaining music. So I'm sure that in making the album that I made, parts of that have bled into it. Like, there's no denying that. I think that's definitely happened. But I come from making, like, I've been writing music for about 8 years and composing, and I have like around 20 albums or something that I finished, and like EPs and full lengths and everything like that. And I think it's just sort of at this moment in time, that's the influence that's bled into it, so it makes sense, I guess. I'm not like averse to it because it's something I do enjoy. I'm excited to make the next album because I think it's very, very disparate, at least in my head, from what I made with this one. Like, I have a lot of ideas that are going somewhere else, so I don't know. You can't escape it.
When I listen to Cerulean, I hear this brain feeder hip-hop break beats. And now you told us that you're from Los Angeles, so you eventually are influenced by them.
Yeah, there's that, and there's a lot of different pieces of things, because it's sort of a misunderstanding with me that I actually have a background in hip-hop, which I don't. I don't have any real understanding or scope of like hip-hop music. I have what's been coming out recently and that sort of thing as my first gauge of hip-hop, really. And I enjoy it very much. Like all the stuff on Anticon, the stuff on Brain Feeder and the Low End Theory scene, I really, really enjoy that music. But I come from like the first real music that I poured my heart into was Bjork. That was like the very first thing, and then from there I stemmed out and listened to her producers and her collaborators and all of that, and music expanded from there. So I come from like a songwriting electronic pop background, and that's like my influences in making music are essentially to like put together a pop record in my own fashion. Like with every album I'm sort of trying to do that, and with the next one it's going to be the same thing, just in a different way. So the hip-hop stuff, like the chill wave stuff, is there for certain, because it's sort of like what I had in mind at the time, but it's not my roots and what I'm thinking about constantly when I'm making music. So, yeah.
And you told us now that you're on Anticon. How did you get how did you get to these people?
It was my old manager Josh is very good friends with the guy Sean Koplow, who owns the label. At the moment, like, it used to be a collectively owned label, but I think business stuff made it too challenging, so that the artists started remaining completely artistic, and they had a label manager in place. And it was a few people before Sean, but Sean is the current manager. Outside of all of that, my old manager Josh was friends with Sean, and Sean heard my music a while ago and wasn't actually that turned on to it, but when I made this Cerulean album, he was really, really in love with it and liked it a lot, and Daedalus was the person who showed it to him. And Daedalus and him in turn had talked about either one of them putting it out, so it either being on Anticon or being with Magical Properties, which is Daedalus's imprint, and sort of like it was a very like awesome kind of problem. Like, it's a very, very cool notion for that to have happened, but at the same time it was a very real challenge figuring out the right home for it. And they talked a lot with each other, and I think they both sort of came to me and said, like, we think it would be best for you to go with Anticon, and I trusted their judgment, and I think it was the best decision. I think it was great. So it's weird, and it happened sort of in a more adult atmosphere than I thought it would. It was very cool.
I think they were turned off by your earlier music because of your name.
Yeah. I would 100% agree.
I normally don't ask questions about artist names, but
I'm glad you are, because nobody does, and I think
really?
because it's horrible, and that's why I changed it.
So,
yes.
Where did it came from?
Well, it was. I came up with the name. Like I told you, I've been recording music for 8 years. It was at the beginning of that, when I was like 14. Post fetus, which is horrible. It's very confusing to write down. It's confusing to tell people out loud, to spell online. Everything about it is just like a thumbs down.
Are there brackets or not?
There are. Like, I did have a record that came out under that name with this label Munest in Malaysia, and that was my first technically professional release. It was distributed in Japan and East Asia and all this stuff, which is great. And that album had been sort of around for a long time, but then it finally came to a release with that. And that was the last thing I did with that because I was desperate for a name change. So Baths, with this album, Cerulean, it was like the perfect time to like put a new name to it. So I don't know. But yeah, it's good to have that in the past where it is.
Even Pitchfork-like.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. We are now in this situation where we can ask stupid questions.
Yay.